Hello everybody, Marco Schinke again. Let's see another lesson on actions. This vocabulary. There's too many verbs in English, but some of them are very important for the TOEFL test and the IELTS test. And we are going to study two in this lesson, Cramble and Erode. They are connected, they are kind of synonyms, but they have some differences in the way they work. All right? Let's see the pronunciation. Well, it is erode, it's cramble, right? This is the way we speak the words, like erode here, cramble here. And, well, this is the spelling of the verb forms. We have crumble, he, she, it crumbles. For example, a cookie can crumble. So the cookie crumbles. It was crumbed. When you open the package, the biscuit was crumbled. And, oh, that wall is crumbling. The house, the old house is crumbling. We are going to see the details, more details about these expressions. But to erode, the land erodes, the soil erodes, the stone erodes. That rock is eroded. The rain is eroding the soil of the farm, right? So these are the ways we write the words. Look at this picture here. This image by Enrique Lopez Garre shows a hill, some mountains, and look at how eroded this area has been. Look, with the action of water, wind, and so on, the shape of the soil has changed. Another example of erosion is here. Because of the tides and the waves, that cliff has been eroded. Wow, interesting formation, right? It's from Dimitri Vetsikas. It's in Crete, this picture, this place. Now let's see Cramble. This is an example of a crumbled cookie because it has lots of small pieces of the original cookie, but it's like being destroyed and we see the crumbs of it. I also mentioned earlier the example of a rock that has been eroded and it's crumbling. Well, when something crumbles, we see the result here. There are lots of small pieces of the original part of it. Interesting, right? So, let's see a little more of the definition of the words. To erode is to gradually destroy the surface of something through the action of wind, rain, etc. To be gradually destroyed in this way. So, it's interesting because there are other words connected to destruction. Here we see that erosion happens because of the action of other things. Like the water comes and takes part of the soil. So the soil of the farm gets eroded. The wind goes and shapes the stone, the rock. It's erosion, right? Good. Let's see some examples. Be eroded away, for example. The cliff face has been steadily eroded by the sea. Mortgage payments have been eroded, decreased in value by inflation. So inflation is coming and the payments have been eroded. They don't value as much as in the past. And let's see crumble. The verb crumble. To break or break something into very small pieces. Or like if something is this size, for example, and then gets much smaller, we can imagine that this verb can have figurative senses, like becoming weaker in strength or influence, for example. Okay, look at the examples here. The soft earth of the riverbank crumbled under his feet. So he was walking at the riverbank, and because of it, like that soil changed the structure, and lots of small parts of soil appeared. And these are small crumbs, so the person crumbled the riverbank. Okay, the soft earth of the riverbank. Another one with the figurative way, support for the government is crumbling. Sometimes it happens that the government is losing the support and then it's crumbling, like losing the original structure. There's a very interesting idiom about with the word crumble, with the verb crumble. That's the way the cookie crumbles. We are going to see the meaning a little later, okay? Let's move on and see some synonyms. Crumble, we have here to break up, to collapse, to crush, and not related to emotional feelings, sentimental feelings for anybody. To crush, to destroy, right? Decay. To decay involves like there was some quality and it got smaller, less quality, less integrity or something. Degenerate, deteriorate, disintegrate, dissolve, granulate. Remember, small pieces of the whole. To grind. Do you know the verb grind? The verb grind is to create small pieces of something. For example, in meat, we pass the meat in a machine and it becomes minced meat. Very small pieces of it. It's very good at bolognese sauce, for example. But in American English, grind is also okay to describe this process of changing a piece of meat into small pieces. Right? In British English, only mince. But in American English, mince and grind are okay. So a grinder is the machine that makes the meat in small pieces. And we have some synonyms for erode. To corrode, to destroy, to consume, to crumble. They are connected. There's also disintegrate. Look again. To gnaw. What's that? To gnaw is like to bite or chew something repeatedly. And it creates holes in the thing. Like imagine, there are some people that like to gnaw clothes or other pieces of cloth. And a baby loves doing that. and then the baby is doing that and creates holes and things. But it is a kind of eroding. It's eroding the cloth. And this is knowing. There are other synonyms like grind down and wear down. By the way, wearing. Well, you can say that I'm wearing a blue t-shirt. Great. But the word wear, wearing, has to do with deterioration of something. So with time, with the use, things can deteriorate, and this is the wearing idea. There's a song from the group Pink Floyd called Wearing the Inside Out. The person is suffocating with emotions and problems, and then the idea is that the person is wearing the inside out, like destroying by the inside. Horrible feeling, but very good song, Wearing the Inside Out. I'm wearing the inside out. You should watch the video and listen to the song. Very good one. Let's move on and see some opposites. Cramble. If the idea of crumbling is to have the whole and then have a destruction of it having small pieces, the opposite is to get the small pieces and build, to develop, to improve. Remember, the government, the support was crumbling. The support to the government was crumbling. So the support to the government can improve. Small pieces, separate pieces, unite. Unite is the opposite of crumble. Put together. Again, if you have separate parts, if you put together, you create the original form, the original shape. Fix. Fix is consertar. So, if the land is eroded, you need to fix that. Otherwise, you won't have land to plant anymore. And erosion is such a big problem for farmers. Yes. Ignore. Ignore. How can it be an opposite of erode? Imagine, there's that piece of land, right? And with the rain, it could form a stream of water. But imagine that that water ignores the piece of land. There's no erosion. Because of it, we can say that it is a way to be opposite of erode. Imagine a stone, a rock, and there's a lot of wind from this side. The erosion will be greater this side, but the other side, there's no erosion because the wind ignores this side. The wind erodes this side and ignores this side, opposite. Preserve. Erosion is exactly the opposite of preserving, is destroying, right? Rebuild. It is destroyed, a kind of destruction, the erosion, and rebuild is just the opposite. Regenerate, again, it was good, it was well, and then because of wind or water, it eroded. So regenerating is to bringing back to the original form, original shape. Some related words. Oops, this is crumb. Crumb is a noun, right? A small piece of something is a crumb. Crumbliness. Crumbliness is a noun. what's the crumbliness of these biscuits? I remember a brand, I won't tell the brand, but in the past it was so, like the crumbliness was so high, you couldn't buy that biscuit that you knew that you were taking kind of flour to home. You were taking flour home. But crumbliness, they changed the structure of the biscuit and it became much harder. So the crumbliness went down, but the flavor changed as well. So I stopped buying that biscuit because of it. Interesting. Crumbly. So those biscuits were crumbly and they are no longer crumbly and they are no longer as tasty as in the past. Erosion. Erosion is a noun. Erodability is a noun as well. So look at that piece of land or that formation of rocks. What's the erodability? What's the probability of having erosion? Erosion. Curious. Erodible is the adjective. That farm is erodible. The soil is erodible. Erodible. There are lots of things that can happen. Let's speak a little about these words. We have here crumbs. Do you like breadcrumbs in your soup or salad? Do you put them? Crumbs, you crumble the bread, like you cut. You get the bread, a slice of bread, and you cut in small pieces. So you crumble the bread, you create crumbs, and you mix in the salad or in the soup. I love it. I think that they match, they go well, they really go well together. And remember, we talked about that's the way the cookie crumbles. What's the meaning of it? We have the biscuit here again, the cookie, with many small crumbs. So it has been crumbled. That's the way the cookie crumbles means. It's a situation and it's a bad situation and we cannot change it. So we must accept how things are. You see, it's similar to there's no point crying over spilt milk. I have an example here from the Merriam-Webster. Look how practical it is. I'm disappointed that I didn't get the job, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. In times of coronavirus, for example, we can't go to bars, restaurants. So imagine that you are really hungry, you would like to have that delicious steak, but we are under quarantine. Yes, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. But I hope it finishes soon. And now let's talk about erosion. Do you remember that soil formation? Here, what's the difference between erosion and weathering? Weathering, well, we talked about wearing, right? Wearing is a kind of disgust, good. But weathering is a bit different. According to the Wikipedia, weathering is the breaking down of rocks, soil and minerals, as well as wood and artificial materials, through contact with the Earth's atmosphere, water and biological organisms. It is different from erosion. But think, for some seconds, what is the difference between erosion and weathering? Do you have an idea? Well, basically, to have erosion, you need water, wind, something moving, right? And when there's weathering, it's a bit different. Things are standing still. And with the action of atmosphere, gravity, other things, even biological organisms producing chemicals, that the chemicals destroy the rock, the stone, the wood, these things. This is weathering. So this is the difference. So we have here two examples. The first one, an actively eroding rill on an intensively farmed field in eastern Germany. The picture is by Katharina Helming, and it shows a piece of land, a farm, and there's a rill, the Wikipedia says. A rill? I thought the word was river. Well, a rill is something narrower, a narrow stream of water. Okay, a river is much larger, much wider than a rill. Okay, so a rill would be a córrego in Portuguese. That's a picture of rill. And this is erosion, right? On the other picture, a natural arc produced by erosion of differentially weathered rock in Jebel Karas. Here, it's more the action of the wind and the heat and cold. Very, very interesting, because there's weathering here, contributing for the process of the decay of the structure. Very interesting this. I think that it's very important for farmers, for people to prevent the action of the atmosphere, the weathering process, and the erosion of the fields in the case of farmers, because the production can be much smaller and it's necessary to work against that. So these were the two words, erode and crumble. And I hope you have a very solid structure in your life, learning English, going for your IELTS test, your TOEFL test, with no knowledge eroded. Okay? See you at the next lesson. Bye bye.